Greetings. Today I'd like to talk to you about the condition of the Black American, the socio-economic condition of the Black American. And my starting point for this discussion is the Emancipation Proclamation of January 1863, issued by President Abraham Lincoln. Think on that for a moment. January 1863, 161 years ago, a mere 161 years ago. The average lifespan now is approximately 80 years or so. That's not even 3 lifetimes. 3 lifetimes based on 80-year lifespan would be 240 years. We have been so-called freed for 161 years. I submit to you today that, again, 161 years isn't ample time to redeem or recover or uplift yourselves from the effects and after effects and long-lasting repercussions of being an enslaved class. I'm not making any excuses for anyone. That is a factual statement. That is not an excuse. Let me qualify this by saying that my people, blacks, made this nation wealthy, made it wealthy. Hundreds of years, not 50 years. This started in the 1600s or so, 16 to 1700s. So hundreds of years of free labor by blacks in the nation, picking cotton, picking tobacco, corn, rice, sugarcane, you name it, on and on and on, for free. That free labor enabled the United States of America to go from a mere 13 colonies to the most powerful nation on the planet. That free labor made America a global economic power. Free labor, think about that. Who won't get wealthy or wealthier and extremely wealthy? Think about corporate America today. If they could just have people produce their products and not pay them anything, they're already wealthy. But just think about if they could produce their products and not pay the labor force anything at all. Think about how much money they would make. And they're already making more than enough, hand over foot. And so my people, the blacks that pick the cotton, pick the corn, harvested the corn, sugarcane, rice, tobacco, on and on and on, cotton, made this nation wealthy because those products were, though they were primarily grown in the South, they were primarily refined in the North. So the North's not off the hook either. They're not off the hook either. They knew full well that slavery was going on in the South for a whole lot of years prior to the Emancipation Proclamation. And they were fine with that for a pretty long time. Not everyone. There were some abolitionists that knew it was morally wrong and against the will of God. But for the most part, most folks were happy because the farmers in the South was getting money and the manufacturers in the North who'd got the raw products from the South was making money. They were shifting their goods to England, back to the king initially. And even the king was getting money. So everybody was fine with slavery. Okay? But now we're being told that if you're not where you want to be in this journey called life in America, if you're not economically where you think you should be, socioeconomically, or you don't have the education you feel that you should have gotten, it's your fault, black man. It's your fault. black woman. You're not trying hard enough. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You need to buckle down and do whatever's necessary. You are just lazy. You are just unmotivated, and etc., and etc., and etc. No, you are not lazy. I know some certain individuals are lazy and some certain individuals are unmotivated, but as a class of people, the black American is not lazy, or inherently unmotivated, or inherently irresponsible. That is not true. I submit to you today that a mere 161 years, 3 lifetimes, is not ample time to recover from the long-lasting effects of being an enslaved class. In order to recover from this damage that was inflicted upon an entire class of people, our government should be willing to give us reparations, pay us well-deserved reparations for the fact that we were an enslaved class and have suffered long from the historic mistreatment in this land. We should be allowed to receive reparations. It's not going to happen. I'm well aware of that. It's deserved. Now, just because I said it's not going to happen doesn't mean that I believe that it's not deserved. Oh, I believe it's truly deserved. But I'm also a realist, pragmatic, and understand that it's not going to happen. What should happen, however, is the same treatment that the Native Americans received for their abuse. And they were truly abused. They were almost exterminated. All the native tribes in America were almost exterminated. And they're the only real Americans. They are the real Americans. They were here. They didn't come over here from Europe. They weren't brought over on slave ships. They were here. This was their land. And they were almost exterminated. But I submit to you that for the abuse and mistreatment that the Native American received, at least they have been given some federal programs mandated under the Bureau of Indian Affairs where they get certain well-deserved dispensation for the fact that they are a historically mistreated, abused class of people. Under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, they get certain tax breaks, they get certain business breaks, they get certain free educational breaks for their children, and on and on and on. I don't know every detail. I'm not an expert on the Bureau of Indian Affairs, but I do know that they get several well-deserved programs for the mistreatment that they historically received in this nation, and they deserve that. And a lot of folks will say, you know how they say, well, if you don't like it here, or if it's so bad here, why don't you go back to Africa? No, I am not. No, I am not. I'm not going back to Africa. You're not going back to Europe. And I'm not an African American. I'm an American. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm a black man who's an American. I'm not an African American. Nothing against Africa. My ancestors originated in Africa, but I originated in America. Right there in Oklahoma, as a matter of fact. That's where I was born. Don't ask me why I was way out there, but that's where I was born. That's another story for another time. But the fact is the matter. I was born in the United States of America, Oklahoma. Therefore, I am an American, not an African American. The other folks don't call themselves Scandinavian American or Scottish American. They might refer to it when they mention their ancestry now and then. Oh, my great-granddaddy was Irish, so I got Irish ancestry, or I got German ancestry, or I got Italian ancestry. That's why my last name is a Scottish. They might mention it like that. But they don't walk around saying, I'm Scottish American. I'm German American. I'm Italian American. I'm Irish American. I'm Norwegian American. They say, I'm an American. Well, guess what? So am I. I'm not an African American. I'm an American. Okay? And my people made this nation the great, wealthy nation that it is. And our class, Black Americans, deserve a program similar to what the Native Americans get. And the Native Americans truly deserve everything that they've been entitled to under the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And what they get, it can never replace the ancestors that were slaughtered at the hands of the United States Cavalry when the United States conducted a genocidal campaign against the Native American population. And those they didn't exterminate, they stuck on reservations, took them off the land they were on and placed them on reservations, mostly in Oklahoma, but other areas as well. And when they found oil on some of the reservations, they kicked them off of that and concentrated them into even smaller and smaller areas of land. So the Native Americans deserve every entitlement that they have. They deserve much more, but at least they do have some entitlements under the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And I submit to you that those tax breaks and business breaks and loans for businesses and schooling for the kids to the post-secondary level free, they deserve all that, and rightly so. And I submit to you that the black class, ethnic class in America has been also disenfranchised, just like the Native Americans were disenfranchised, socially and economically disenfranchised. We have been socially and economically disenfranchised, and it can't be repaired in 3 lifespans, 161 years. No, you cannot. No, you cannot tell me that everything's an equal level playing field and nothing never happened, like slavery never occurred, because it's been 161 years, so all is well now because it's been 161 years. No, that is not enough time for any group of people to recover from slavery, disenfranchisement. We couldn't even own anything. Most of the folks now who are wealthy is because of generational wealth that started in the 1700s and 1800s. Generational wealth. It didn't just abracadabra just showed up. This generational wealth has been handed down in many cases, throughout in the family for generations, starting back in the 16, 17, 1800s. During that time frame, we weren't allowed to have any businesses. We weren't allowed to own property. As a matter of fact, we didn't even own our own selves. We were property. We were owned. We didn't even own our own bodies. The slave master owned our bodies. That was just 161 years ago. Now you're going to tell me, because now you got years of generational wealth and we don't, because we were slaves. Oh, it's my fault. It's our fault that we're not where we want to be socioeconomic. Easy for you to say when your family's had money since the 1700s. And free labor, when my ancestors were providing the free labor and not gaining any property rights or wealth accumulation, none. No socioeconomic gain whatsoever, just providing free labor to make the slave master richer and richer and richer so he can hand down his generational wealth for the last 161 years. But we didn't have none to hand down for the last 161 years. Y'all had a real long head start. But don't tell me it's our fault. You're not trying hard enough. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. We need a program for the Black American man and the Black American woman and the Black American child, similar to the ones that the program that they have under the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the Native Americans. And they deserve all that. But we deserve something too. And the template is already available. You take that same template that was used to establish the Bureau of Indian Affairs, change a few words, and the same types of things they receive, those are the same types of things that Black Americans who have an ancestral history of slavery should receive. It's not a handout. It's not a handout. It's just recompense for mistreatment of slavery that has had long-lasting historical repercussions well beyond 161 years, which is a blink of an eye in history, in historical terms. In historical terms, 161 years is like a little blip. A little blip. I wish everything was magically equal, but it's not. And I understand the folks that are here now, I know they're not slave masters and they weren't responsible for slavery. They weren't the ones that slaughtered the Native American tribes. I know that. I'm not accusing the folks currently here or the children that are currently here. I'm not accusing them or their parents or anyone else of any slave activities or slaughtering the American Indian. I'm saying as a result of what transpired, a factual statement that you cannot repair that in 161 years. You can't. You just can't. I'm pleased to be an American. I served my nation in the United States Air Force. I'm proud of my service because I believe in the ideals that the flag stands for and the ideals that were stated when I raised my right hand and gave my oath of service when I was commissioned. It's time for us to live up to those ideals. Thank you for your time.